You're listening to Fan
Dumb
Pod,
podcast.
where
Lord in heaven.
that was great.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
throw that to the curb. That worked.
Catch it, or whatever the saying is. Where I, your host, RJ Skeens, my good friend and co-host,
Pat Jorgenson.
take a deep dive into all things pop culture. This week, we are going to be delving into the hit manga and anime TV series Kimetsu no Yaiba, or better known as Demon Slayer. Joining us is our co-host,
Marcus Laurienti. All right, boys. Well, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good old resident fandom.
That good old resident guest right now.
Hell yeah.
Times.
Sometimes I'm the
Three
dumb
times.
fan. But hey, you know what? I really enjoy the topics we've been covering, and I'm really excited because we're getting into some of the goodies of this show.
Oh
Today's
yeah,
show.
we're really getting into the juice. It's
Starting
starting
moving up in the world.
All right, well, let's get right to it. How about episode 4, final selection?
Yes, episode 4, final selection. It starts out with a flashback of Tanjiro slicing the boulder from the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what
Then
significance did the boulder have in the last episode for those who missed it?
The boulder signifies being able to overcome basically an impossible obstacle. If you can slice the boulder, you can essentially achieve anything, right?
Right on. Yeah. Honestly, it was a giant metaphor for both the training of it, finding the opening thread, and just being able to slay a demon, which is also pertinent to being able to accomplish anything because that seems impossible in their world.
Yeah.
For real.
Although I did get that, those old, kung fu movie type of you got to break the thing in half vibes too. It's got that
yeah, just repetitively over and over until you finally, do this thing that you didn't think was feasibly possible.
Yeah.
Eye of the Tiger playing in the background.
Exactly. Except, yeah, it's like going to kill demons because they suck. Beat them with a sword.
So then Tanjiro goes on to explain how he has learned to detect the scent of the opening thread through his total concentration breathing. We move on.
The thread's a good one. I just
the
talked
thread
about
is
that just
go ahead.
as far as understanding, because he's just I followed the thread because he can smell it or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's how he picks up on the thread. It's because of his.
It makes sense to where you're like, oh, it tethers them to the sword, so it's almost like, you're playing like Audio Surfer, but you're using a sword to slice people in half, kind of. It seems it's very, I don't know, poetic and stuff, and I really enjoyed seeing that rather than just being they just have that Jedi ability to be and off with your head, I mean, I know that he's been training his ass off and stuff, but it is nice to see that visual representation of where it's going
and him and that just the how the fucking cursing how that first thread becomes taut. It's literally it's
oddly
satisfying. Finally achieving what he's been working towards.
Mm-hmm. And just I don't know what it is, but connect the thread, follow the thread, cut the head off, that's kind of, it's one of those oddly satisfying things, like popping bubble wrap,
And honestly, I felt like it made Urokodaki a lot more calm with sending Tanjiro to final selection, knowing that he could do that.
No, absolutely.
Then he actually had faith that, I don't want to spoil too much, but he has faith that he will return.
No, absolutely.
And that,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, because it sounded like, oh man, who was the first guy that they run into the other demon, the first demon slayer that Tanjiro encounters, that seems like he was either a student or a friend of.
Oh, Giyu.
He was a
Yeah.
student of Urokodaki,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
so Urokodaki's obviously lost a lot of people, but he's still able to know. He still knows that he still had students, complete the challenge.
Well, Giyu is an example of a student that has completed the challenge, but there was a lot of cost in that, and you find that out later in the series.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
so
Giyu is
yeah.
like a disciple of Urokodaki at this point, because he is the water Hashira at this point, which
yeah.
I believe earlier on you found out that Urokodaki was a former Hashira. I believe it was early
Yeah.
on in season 1 where they disclosed that.
It happens at some point. I know it happens at some point in the next few episodes or before. I know it happens.
Because I was gonna say I don't know anything about that.
Okay, then it happens in a couple later episodes. But after Tanjiro, right? Spoiler. To continue the story on and not get too caught up, Urokodaki shows up next to Tanjiro after he slices the boulder, and then he then proceeds to tell Tanjiro how he never wanted to send another child on to final selection because he doesn't want to lose any more people. Obviously, he's lost so many at this point. And then he goes on to tell,
pretty much, right?
Yeah, and they're all children, all kids who have gone through some kind of loss to drive them to want to slay demons. Obviously, they've experienced a demon slaughtering their family or something along those lines, And
exactly.
And then Urokodaki tells Tanjiro how remarkable of a kid he is, and Tanjiro, being 2 years after his entire family is slaughtered, kind of looks up to Urokodaki like this kind of father figure, and he starts crying and breaks down.
Yeah.
And it was a really emotional moment for me. I don't know. I felt it hit me in the soul.
It really did, honestly, because not only that, but he's been away training for almost an entire year.
Yeah, a whole year. It's a year, and then he's like, I have nothing else to teach you. You have to do this. Then he spends 6 months trying to do it, and then spends another 6 months to do it again, to finally achieve it. Because he's like, oh, this is what I actually have to do. I've been doing it wrong.
And shoot, he probably even was wondering, wow, is this kid even going to come back? Unless he was keeping an eye on him, which I'm pretty sure he was. But there's points in time where Tanjiro definitely was away from Nezuko. That's his only remaining family member. There's a lot of emotion tied into that small training session they showed that has a lasting effect on him.
Yeah,
it really does. After this scene of Urokodaki telling Tanjiro how remarkable it is, they go back to the to Urokodaki's home, and they have a feast to celebrate
his
Tanjiro's
final
success
meal or whatever. Or,
training.
They're like, enjoy this food because it's gonna be rough.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that. It kind of was, in a sense, it could have been his final meal. Yeah,
and that's what kind of I think, doesn't Urokodaki do something or say something to that effect where he's like, something about relax for a second, because you did earn it, and it's kind of weird because you're like, holy cow, this is kind of he's all of it, everything that we've seen in the last up to this 4 episodes now, he's been working towards this thing, and you're kind of ready because in the beginning he's kind of you're like, to me he was a little annoying, and I'm like, come on bud, just kill the demons, just learn how to kill the demons, hurry up.
Yeah.
And now he's finally ready to go and do it on the legit stage. And doesn't he get that weird, what's that type of sword that they have?
The Nichiren sword.
Nichiren sword. That's the next episode, I think.
Yeah, but the thing is, doesn't he already have one? Rokudaki gives him one before he even goes out there.
I believe it isn't. It has to be a Nichiren sword
Yeah, because he was
it
just cutting
kills
them in
the-
half. Sorry to
So
like cut forward. So, yeah,
I don't
continue
know
on.
if it is like it's a lesser powered sword, is all I know.
Yeah,
It's not attuned to Tanjiro himself because
Yeah.
like he didn't hold it.
It's
and
not
all
like
that.
yeah, it's not
Yeah, he didn't
his.
scout the like yeah, it's like when you go into like a dojo to train and you pick up one of theirs as opposed to like having one of your own. You get a little more comfortable with it, you then go get your own.
Yeah,
You
I was
know?
just wondering because then they do go to the final selection. Is this jumping ahead too much?
Yeah, that's jumping ahead. So
Yeah.
while they're eating, Okazaki teaches Tanjiro more about demons and how they can become more powerful by eating humans. And by eating more humans, they gain powers and other abilities known as blood demon arts.
Nasty.
Nasty stuff.
It's like a
It really
Wendigo.
is. Oh,
Kinda.
I know, like a Wendigo. Man, Pat, just wait. I don't even. So then Irokudaki then gives Tanjiro a warding mask charged with a protection spell to keep him safe through final selection. Basically, then cuts to the next morning. Tanjiro says his goodbyes and tells Irokudaki to say hello to Sabito and Makomo. And then Irokudaki's just like completely stumped. He's like,
Oh yeah, the Sixth Sense
where-
moment.
yeah, it's like,
They've been dead the whole time.
oh, yeah, he's like, how does he know about these dead children? And Tanjiro's just like, bye. I'm not gonna answer it for you.
That was really a strange moment for Orokodaki too, because that has a lasting effect throughout the manga too. But ultimately, knowing that the spirits of his former students guiding Tanjiro through his training, that was really a solidifying moment because it was like, wow, even though I felt like I messed up on a teacher perspective, now it's come full circle and my student can actually fulfill his destiny.
For real. And I think it's like also that like reinforcement that, you know, he didn't fail them entirely.
The other
you know,
parts of Yuki
he did
and, well,
teach them,
Makomo, right?
and
Is that their names?
Sabito and Makomo.
Sabito.
It's understandable.
Oh,
A lot of
Sabito. Aha,
names.
yes. Sorry, I'm looking at.
No, you're good. That's fine. So
But,
after, go ahead. Yeah, we digress. We move on. Tanjiro then arrives at final selection, and he and all the others learn that they must survive 7 days on a mountain filled with demons in order to pass final selection.
Dang, that's pretty brutal early on. I mean, they were just cutting boulders, never killed a demon before. Now they got to survive an entire mountain full.
Right, like Tanjiro has fought one demon at this point and didn't even have the guts to kill it. Now he has to spend an entire week fighting demons for, God forbid, the time of year it is. You know, he could be fighting demons for 8 to 10 hours, just depending on how dark it is, for how long.
For real, but I mean, that's his ultimate goal, is to destroy demons in order to find a way to help get Nezuko back to her human form. So he figures, hey, why not a mountain full of them? This must be my best place to start.
Right? No, absolutely. What better way than to just fucking dive in, balls to the wall. So the task starts at night when the demons are active, obviously, and Tanjiro's plan is to stay alive through the night and rest during the day. So his plan is to make it to the furthest east point on the mountain, so he can get to the sunlight as early as possible.
Smart cookie, listen.
Oh, absolutely. That would be my go-to plan as well. While Tanjiro's on his way, eastward, he smells a demon and is attacked not by one, but by 2 demons. And then these 2 demons then proceed to argue over over whose prey Tanjiro is, and then they proceed to just stop arguing and say it's first come, first serve. Whoever gets Tanjiro gets him, and then they charge after him. All while Tanjiro is debating whether he can beat them or not. He then proceeds to pull out a water-breathing fourth form and slaughters both demons and wells up over his work not being for nothing, that he has actually succeeded and he's able to finally take down a demon.
Yeah, I did like that. It is still funny though. I love how Japanese animes always end up having them to just like scream out their attacks, you know.
I love it.
Fourth form, surface slash, or whatever it is. I don't know. Remember, he's got a lot of them.
I just think Dragon Ball Z, man.
I know exactly.
Oh, come on!
Yeah.
So then we cut to Iroka, like a flashback of Orokodaki telling Tanjiro that you can only kill demons with Nichiren swords, which are made from a special steel. We'll touch more on that later. Tanjiro then encounters a putrid smell and sees another participant of Final Selection running from a giant demon with tons of arms. Any thoughts on that demon?
Well, yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
It really is.
Also just gave me, it keeps on doing that. Like, I just got like Attack on Titan vibes again. You're just like, oh no, a monstrosity. And like, you know, is like the same thing when they were going in Attack on Titan, when they were going through all the selection stuff. And then all of a sudden they have all these people they're supposed to be fighting with. And those guys are getting taken out left and right. You're just like, I don't know. I drew a lot of parallels to this one.
This demon, honestly, is in the anime. It is a great representation of like the boulder, pretty much. It's this immovable obstacle, and you feel like you can never get through this because I believe
so old and strong and.
Yeah, exactly. It's went through years and years worth of final selections, just eating numerous children.
Yeah, what did you say? 50, yeah.
Yeah, which
I think
later on in the manga turns into kind of like a power leveling question mark, because it's like, how is this demon so weak in comparison to this one who ate the same amount? But then you figure out it's just like, oh, the quality. So
the quality of the blood.
Yeah, definitely. Like, so this final selection monster is eating like a bunch of
different types of blood later on in this season as well. So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
So after we see this giant demon that's like easily probably 30 feet tall, 20, 30 feet tall, we cut to Sabito and Makomo debating with each other whether or not Tanjiro will be able to defeat that demon. We then cut back to the other participant running from the demon after he just finished munching on a dude. And then the arm demon then shoots a giant arm out at the guy running away, grabbing him and ripping him back towards him.
Yeah, it does some pretty spooky stuff.
Yeah, it's literally flashes out.
Sort of.
Then Tanjiro proceeds to come in and save the day because Tanjiro's a hero and won't let anybody die. And he saves the guy with a water-breathing second form water wheel. Then the demon says something about Tanjiro's mask and makes a comment about the time period. Tanjiro then corrects him that it is the Taisho?
The Taisho period.
Oh.
The Taisho period. And then the demon just loses his cool. He just starts freaking out, starts clawing at all over his body with his multiple hands and digging his nails into his flesh because of how much time has passed, and then rages on about Orokodaki capturing. And then he goes on and says how he has sworn vengeance and swears to kill all of Orokodaki's students. And then he mentions Sabito and Makomo. And as he does this, Tanjiro rushes in, and then the spineless fool that Tanjiro saves runs off and leaves Tanjiro alone to fight this monstrous demon. And Tanjiro won't leave because he believes this demon is too strong to be left alive. Then a pretty rad fight ensues, and Tanjiro performs a first form water surface slash to decapitate this monstrous demon. And that is the end of episode 4.
Yeah, when he was talking about eating Sabito and the other in Makomo, that made me sad.
Yeah, I was sad too.
Poor little anime children being torn into bits. You're like, I just, it's one of those things. You're like, that sucks.
And going back to that,
cute little eyes and bows and silly masks and.
Yeah, and what about the mask? That was a pretty significant plot point as well.
Yeah, what was the deal about the mask? I can't remember. Like, just the fact that he makes them kind of in the image of the students or whatever.
Oh, that's when he gets the mask was covering where his original head injury was, wasn't it?
It was, but I mean, like, the mask itself is more of a symbol of like Orokodaki and like him being with his students wherever they are.
Oh.
And it's also symbolism for the demon, because anytime he sees the fox mask, he's like, oh, Orokodaki, you're instantly my target. So Orokodaki has been making his students a target for this demon pretty much unintentionally. Well, I mean, like, after years and years of this, I think he realized like what was going on, and this is almost like a test your metal kind of thing, because this demon will find you, and if you can't beat this demon, you're not going to be able to beat the main antagonist that's introduced later on.
That's a really good point you bring up. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah, cut your nail or teeth on salt or whatever.
Something like that.
Cut your teeth on diamonds. I don't remember.
Well, at least that water surface slash
iron sharpens iron.
Boulder.
Steel shapes steel.
Speaking of steel, let's get to episode 5, My Own Steel.
So this episode, excuse me, this episode starts with the demon's body dissolving and the souls of Orokodaki's students he killed depart to the afterlife. And Tanjiro basically sees all these guys walk off, and he makes a comment of them going back to the mountain. And then he says, if I would have died, I would have gone back there too.
Yeah. So they're waiting probably for more students or other people to guide, or just.
It's multi-layered, honestly.
Yeah.
Do we find out more later? Am I just...
I haven't found anything out in anime. You might in the manga. I don't know. Marcus?
Or
it could be just up to your interpretation.
It's really just kind of like an in the moment thing. Like, everything from the past 4 episodes just kind of culminates into like one thing, like the training and like the spirits of the children going away is just like, okay, well, it's like almost like a purgatory thing, like their souls are free now that the demon's dead. So I mean, if the mountain is like where they would go anyways, then that's just like where their souls rest, because that's like where they found
peace, or the home, because a lot of them were orphans and they looked to Orokodaki as that father figure.
Yeah,
that's true.
That parental figure, or that,
that caregiver. I mean,
but
the old master in this case.
Exactly. So after we see them finally be able to move on, we cut to the demon dissolving, and he begins to remember when he was turned into a demon as a young boy. And he also remembers just after his transformation, and we find out he kills his brother. And the only thing he's like really been longing for is a hand to hold. And as this demon's like dissolving, he's like crying. Well, like I guess he's not really crying, but his eyes are like welling up with tears.
The past are
And
kind of
like having the revelation of this, and he's like, his hands like outstretched, like looking for a hand to hold. And Tanjiro, being the kind person he is, he comes over and he comforts this demon in his last moments. And Tanjiro makes a comment about how, like, I think he makes a comment about how sad of a scent he's giving off.
Yeah, because it's the scent of sadness or whatever, and that's goes back to that thing that Orokodaki remembered or heard, like felt about him with the like he's like, you smell the smell of kindness or something like
And
that.
he's giving off the scent of kindness even when dealing with in the presence of a demon who just slaughtered people.
That and people that he knew.
I think. Oh, that's also something I didn't say last episode. I wanted to like about the spirits, like Tanjiro connecting with the spirits. I think that's also like a thing that's specific to Tanjiro because he is so kind and so in tune. That he, I don't know. That's why they were able to come to him and be his aid. And he shows all the compassion and still sees the humanity in these demons. Maybe that makes sense in my head. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does to you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like, when the manga first came out, a lot of people called Tanjiro naive, just because of like, oh yeah, he feels like a little bit of compassion, a little bit of repentance for this demon, but you have to realize this demon has killed like 50, 60 students. It's killed like 5 of your master's students who he knew personally and raised. It's like there's a lot more at stake than just feelings here. But as the manga goes on, as the anime goes on, you kind of see Tanjiro get rid of the naiveness behind his happiness and like his kindness towards demons, and he sees it more as like they deserve a chance to extinguish whatever sins they had in this lifetime to have a better life in the next one. That's why he always like wishes them a better life, because this one was nothing but like tragedy for them.
That is something I really appreciate about Tanjiro is he, in their last moments, he like, I hate to get the religion in there, but he prays to God to, like, in their next life, please don't make them a demon. Give them a new chance to be good, like they could have been. They had their life stolen from them by this horrible person. But
right,
but Tanjiro, we cut to a montage of Tanjiro basically surviving and running around, attacking, like fending off demons and asking them how he can turn Nezuko back into a human. Though none of these demons are answering because they're all crazed because they've not consumed much blood or much human flesh or energy source. Sustenance.
Yeah, they're cranky. Hangry, really.
They're angry. I was that way last night. But after, after this montage, we get to the end of final selection, and Tanjiro arrives back at the Westera trees, and 3 others return along with him. I guess they could call it the Westera Sanctuary. Sanctuary. And the twins greet them as the only survivors. Tanjiro makes a comment to himself about how few people there are left. The twins then go on to tell them that there are 10 ranks in the demon core. Do you remember those, Marcus?
I do not, but I do know that
I know what
it
their rank
ranges
is.
from like Hashira to Mizuno Kage or Mizunoto or something like that. It's
Well, doesn't it? Yeah, it starts off with it's either something Atse or something Odo or
It's Mizunote or Mizunoto or something like that. But these four are currently at the lowest rank, which is Mizunoto. The lowest. I just said the lowest rank. No need to repeat myself.
man.
So they then go to
Sorry.
tell the survivors that new and stronger color changing katanas will be made for them after they pick the.
Or right there's
Yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I wrote it down and I'm
after the
my hands up. I don't know it. Not even going to butcher it. When they go
Yeah.
to pick the, that's perfect for them, though it will take 15 days for it to be completed. They are each then assigned a Kasugai crow to communicate what their missions are from this point on. And they are also given their new uniforms. One of the demon slayer with a scar across his face, I think his name is Ginya Shinazugawa. He angrily demands the sword now from the twin by walking up to her and grabbing her by her hair.
Oh yeah.
My favorite thing about this is that
very
she's just dead,
tropey
just like
characters.
just like she's like, are you done yet? Are you done? And Pedro walks up to him and grabs his arm. He says, don't treat her that way. Let go of her now.
It was good.
Otherwise, I'll break
good
your arm.
cop routine.
And Ginya looks at Tanjiro and he says, I'd like to see you try. So Tanjiro hits him with a breathing technique and it cuts away. I believe you hear a cracking sound and dude like grabs his arm and like goes back like a hurt dog. It's all mad. They then proceed to the ore selection table, and Tanjiro uses his keen sense of smell to decide which to choose. After this, Tanjiro returns to Orokodaki on a very long and slow-going trip. I believe he's using a crutch because he's haggard after these 7 days on the mountain. You're sleeping outside during the day. You're probably not sleeping much with the sun up. Let's be honest. It's hard to sleep like that.
Especially, after a certain amount of times with things out there in the woods.
No, definitely. It's not going to be a pleasant experience. So when Tanjiro returns, he happily is an understatement. He finds Nezuko awake after a year and a half of sleeping. I think it was like 18 months.
Yep.
And
that was crazy stuff.
And Orokodaki is relieved to see he's alive. He's so relieved so that we get a close-up of Orokodaki and you see his like the side of his face with his mask, and you see like I'm pretty sure you see a tear in the corner of his eye because he's that moved. He's like, yes, my boy Pen.
Yeah.
He then tells Tanjiro that he believes Nezuko is recovering her strength by sleeping instead of eating humans, and as well as teaching him more about blood demon arts and things like that.
Yeah.
And to touch on blood demon arts, that would be pretty much just comparable to like the powers that they illustrate the Hashira and all the other demon slayers having. So like when it's water breathing or something like that, that's like the equivalent to a blood demon art.
Oh boy.
Exciting. So basically that I guess the hand demon, like his arms extending out, I guess that would be considered his blood demon art.
Oh, I just thought that was because he was just eating so many, he had just become that powerful.
Yeah, that's why. After so many humans and the good quality of blood and things like that, probably.
Technically, he didn't have a blood demon art just because he was so massive. Demons will only say like a blood demon art if they do it. Like The one in the upcoming episode, I believe.
Okay,
does
yeah,
say
yeah,
it.
he does. I believe he does. Okay. Thank you for correcting me. I don't want to be wrong here.
That's why we need him.
We don't need that hate mail.
I mean, honestly, I could be wrong, but
Who cares?
You better not be. You best
We're
not
here
be,
for
boy.
fun. Fact check it. Let me know. Sorry, I lost my place. So 15 days later, 15 days have gone past, and Tanjiro's new sword is delivered to him by Hagan Zuka?
my favorite
Hagani
character
Oh,
in this
that dude.
entire anime.
That was
Bro,
super
he's
weird.
so
The other one
great.
who's just super excited.
He's
I want to
so-
see the sword turn red.
Yeah, so he's the swordsmith who goes on to explain that Nichiren swords are forged with scarlet iron sand and scarlet ore, which is obtained from Mount Yoko, which is bathed in sunlight all day long. It's never covered in clouds or anything along those lines. All of these elements together produce steel, which can absorb sunlight. How do you pronounce his name, Marcus?
Haganazuka.
Haganazuka then exclaims, Tanjiro is a child of brightness. He's hyped about this because of Tanjiro's red tinted hair and his eyes. He then goes on to explain that this is a sign of good luck for families who work with fire when their firstborn son is born with red hair or red tinted eyes.
And that's and that was his family, correct? He fulfilled the same sort of thing. He's like got the red eyes
yes.
and the red.
Oh, yeah.
I know he has
yeah.
red hair. I don't remember his eyes.
He's the firstborn son, and he has red tinted hair and red tinted eyes. It's like so
Know what I'm
after
saying?
Haganazuka. Oh yeah. So after Haganazuka goes on his child of brightness rant, he then exclaims that Tanjiro's sword will probably turn red because of his red hair and red eyes. And to his immense disappointment, it changes instead to a rare black color, which very little is known about.
Spooky
Because of
omen,
this,
man.
It is kind of a spooky omen. But because it doesn't turn red, he then proceeds to jujitsu the crap out of Tanjiro and beat
He actually
him.
does. Oh, what's this? I need to see. I saw a picture and I was like, that's a really good armbar or something. What is that? Is that his name? Hagatsugaki?
Haganazuka.
Haganazuki, Hagenezuka. Yeah, but he goes on to jujitsu Tanjiro, and Tanjiro's like, just how old do you think you are? And he goes, I'm 37.
The dude is an absolute legend. I love this character.
I'm like, man, I hope I'm like that when I'm 37, dude. Like, he's just so full of just all of it. He's a great person.
Anytime he makes an appearance in the anime, I literally just watch the episode or that part 2 or 3 times just because it's free comedy. But there's an entire arc that is yet to be animated that I am very excited for, the Swordsmith arc. And
I keep hearing about this Swordsmith arc, and I'm excited.
Fantastic.
So Tanjiro's Kasugai Crow flies in to save him.
Can I say this bit? Mic
Yeah,
check?
go ahead.
I found he's got him. So what he literally has him in is a he's got him in a bow and arrow choke because he's pulling across his neck, and then he's also got his pants and
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that fun fact.
That right? He even loops it underneath.
Yeah, he even loops it underneath his leg.
They went full fledged.
Attention to detail.
They really do. They pay all of the attention to detail. It's great. It's something I appreciate.
All right. So,
but yes, Tanjiro, Kasugai Crow flies in and presents Tanjiro with his first assignment as a demon slayer, saving him from Haginazuka's jujitsu.
Yeah.
He is told that he must go to a town to the northwest where young girls have been vanishing and kill the demon responsible for these disappearances. And that is the end of episode 5.
Honestly, this was a really cool episode because it kind of just topped off. Starts out with him finishing off the hand demon. There's your action, but then it answers a lot of questions that we had going into the first 4 episodes. Like, why even be a demon slayer? Why are demons so strong? It seemed like only that one was powerful. So, I mean, if Orokodaki could capture a demon of that caliber, what else is out there? Like, it's almost just like a foreshadowing of like what's to come, and it gets you a little bit hyped for the next set of quests and adventures.
You can't see it, but I'm bouncing up and down in my seat because it makes me so excited. What are your thoughts on that episode, Pat? What was your favorite part from it, if you had one? Lifts eyebrows repeatedly. Hello?
We gotta go check. I think I smell a demon in his house.
Already wearing my Tanjiro kimono. No.
I'll hop in a box. Let's go.
Let's go. Shit. Oh, we lost Pat.
This is
That's
going
all right.
swimmingly.
And he's back.
And he's back. Yep.
And we're back after that short break from technical difficulties. Did you hear the question?
Technical difficulties.
No, I did not. Sorry. That was what I was
No.
trying to get back.
I understand. So I asked, what was your favorite part about episode 5, if you had one?
I think it was probably the fact that he could smell his ore, or everybody else is just like, they all look the same. And I'm like, I get that. That's hilarious. And then he's all like, I'll use my nose. And then everybody else who probably doesn't have the same like abilities, like,
I mean, I got a big nose, so I get the sense of smell thing.
Yeah. But
I don't smell
he's the only
rocks,
one
though.
who's like smelling his ore, and everybody else was like, I don't know. I guess I'll just pick this one.
I do. I just really solidifying that he's got
felt-
that sense of smell that he can just pick up on such subtleties like that. Like,
It's like when you're
this.
picking your Pokemon in freaking Pokemon.
for real.
Like, is it a Pikachu?
Like,
I just sat there and I thought about this. When you smell, you use part of your taste buds. Tanjiro knows what demons taste like.
Marcus,
What's that about?
you've got me fucking dead. Thinking about the latest demon.
Oh man, all the simps out there are really envious of Tanjiro now.
Man, dude, I wish I was a simp to Tanjiro. I don't even know what we're talking about.
You'll get there, Pat. You'll get
I'll
there.
get. Yay.
Oh, I'm
You'll
dead.
all
It's
get
hard.
there.
So, on to episode 6, Swordsman, accompanied by a demon. Tanjiro suits up in his Demon Slayer uniform, and Urokodaki tells Tanjiro his uniform is spade. It's not spade. It's made. It's made of a special fabric that is breathable and repels moisture, and it's not going to burn easily. He then goes on to explain low-level demons' claws and fangs won't be able to tear the uniform as well. And he then goes on to explain that the Nichiren swords change color depending on the person who's wielding it, and each hue has unique characteristics. But since, unfortunately, not many end up with black blades, little is known about them, and is often thought that a wielder of a black blade is not going to go far. Tanjiro then goes on to exclaim that he's different. He's going to save Nezuko from being a demon. And Orokodaki tells Tanjiro he has this awesome new lightweight box made of Kirikomo cedar, coated in a special rock lacquer to like harden it and make it really, really tough to replace his old the hole ridden basket that he carries Nezuko around in. Tanjiro then goes on to ask Nezuko to climb into the box. She does so, and off they travel to the town where young girls have been vanishing. There, at this town, Tanjiro meets Kazumi, whose fiance Satoko vanished the previous night. Kazumi is just haggard and wandering around town and just he's got like marks on his face. He looks like he's got some blood on him. He's got bags under his eyes like he hasn't slept all night long. And Tanjiro sees this and he like hears some people like talking about Kazumi and saying that poor dude, his fiance disappeared last night. And so Tanjiro walks over to him and he's like, hey, can you take me here to where this happened? And so Kazumi takes him to where his fiance was. And Tanjiro drops down to the ground with his nose to the ground. And starts
comical bit.
Search around for the scent.
Which
while
is so
Tanjiro,
funny.
it really is funny. Go ahead.
Well, I just thought it was hilarious because he's going around town and he's like following this guy. He's like, I'm here to help. And then he's like got his nose to the ground and this haggard like kid is following another dude around just like sniffing the ground. And everybody's just like, what is this? He's like, I promise it's for a good cause, okay?
I'm not a strange man. I promise.
I swear to God, that's what it's like to go out and like Colfax at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, right. He's like, I swear to God, my girlfriend was taken by demons, and then the guy's like, don't worry, I'll.
Best friend just sniffing the ground, like, oh, fantastic.
It's just like if people didn't think you were already crazy,
for real. So as Tanjiro's sniffing on the ground, Kazumi recalls how he was beaten by Satoko's parents because they didn't believe that she just vanished. They assumed that there was some sort of foul play involved. And he just takes the beating. He's just like, basically like feels like he deserves it because he just let her go. He lost her. And so Tanjiro sniffs about the town and follows traces of the demon's scent with Kazumi just trailing behind him like a little puppy. He then realizes that Tanjiro is a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, and that's why he believed him, and that's why he's here. As night falls, Tanjiro continues to track the demon when we cut to a young girl named Toki is being abducted from her bed by a demon who makes like it's like a
shadow liquid. I see what
and he phases her through the ground. Tanjiro picks up the scent and takes off towards the demon. He can smell the demon when he gets closer. He can smell the demon and the girl, but he can't see them. And then he picks up and realizes that they are traveling underground, and he stabs where the scent is the strongest. When he stabs into the ground, it wounds the demon and allows Tanjiro to retrieve Toki. The demon then comes above ground, and it is morphed and is capable of blood demon art spells to move through like solid ground and things like that. The demon disappears, and then it reappears as three separate beings. And we cut to a flashback of Orokodaki telling Tanjiro there's only one demon still alive who has the special blood needed to turn a human into a demon, and thus was the one who attacked the Kamado household. He is also the only one who may know how to turn Nezuko back into a human. And we also learned that he is nearly 1,000 years old, and the The fuck?
Progenerator.
Basically, the creator of all demons.
Which is so.
Musa.
And now, can I just get it? Like, okay, so that's something I didn't realize. So the Okadaki said that the demon that attacked his family specifically was the 1,000-year-old demon.
Muzan Kepitsui. Yes.
My, how poetic.
And that was the other scent that Tanjiro believes he picked up on. So we cut in the flashback, cut between the three demons being in, 3 parts, and the demon's high rate of regeneration from consuming so many people. Tanjiro soon finds himself in quite an overwhelming situation, having to protect Kazumi and Toki and fight off the demons. The wounded demons, Tanjiro, cuts off a couple of the demons' arms, I believe, and the wounded demons then taunt the humans, telling Kazumi that he had already devoured Satoko. He says, if her like hairpin is in here, then she's already dead. I ate her. And then we realize, like, Tanjiro gets kind of pissed off at this, and when all hope seems lost because Tanjiro's overwhelmed and kind of outfought by 3-1 odds, Nezuko shows up and comes out of her box to even the odds, ending episode 6.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nezuko with that X-Men powers.
Nezuko.
And
This-
the power of love.
This
power of love,
episode
right?
honestly felt like filler, but that's just because it's more so like an introduction to Blood Demon art, and they had to create like the most basic, almost annoying demon with like his teeth crackling back and forth anytime he like dives down into the water. Just like they try and make the demon representative of like the entire setting. So he's in murky water, he looks grungy, he has terrible traits, so automatically makes the character hate him. But then there's a lot of things that go into this episode leading into next episode, but it shows that a lot of these demons aren't who they are now because of who they were as humans. They turned into this, and it's just like their personality personified, but the worst parts of the personality, I guess.
Because that was the whole deal with the one demon, the arm demon, and the Wisteria thing, was that just over time he'd forgotten who he was and stuff.
Yeah. It seems that is like that does seem to be like a recurring theme with like the demons. It's like if you think about Muzan, if he's been around over 1,000 years, then how long have some of these other demons been around and been stuck this way? After so much time and like consuming so much like human blood and flesh, you lose touch with your humanity. And that's what we see with these demons. And with that hand demon, we saw him come to his, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Revelation, I guess.
Yeah. He almost had like an epiphany as soon as he died. Like, wow, I basically was spreading the same pain that I had received. But hey, that's what fighting your demons is all about, am I right?
Oh,
for real.
A lot of self-reflection.
It really is.
Yeah. Is that a technical metaphor, or is that just like happenstance?
We'll just run with it.
I feel
I have no idea what the author had in mind, but yeah, fight your demons, folks.
I think it's a great metaphor. That is right. Yeah, that's the 3 episodes we'll talk about on this episode of Fandom Podcast. If you'd like to check us out on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we're at The Fandom Pod. That's TheFanDumbPod. And if you'd like to shoot us an email with any suggested topics, or you want to say hello, we are
Yeah, come on down. The
Podcast
fandom.
343@gmail.com. Pat, you want to plug anything?
Nope, we got it.
All right, Marcus, you want to plug anything? Pat's like, I'm out of here.
Hey, watch
Oh,
episode
no, I'll
7.
stick around.
Watch it.
Yeah, I better hurry up.
Right on. Thanks for checking us out.